Oh man, am I excited for this review. There's no more subjective and divisive topic in today's world than comedy. I know every person has a different sense of humor. Killer Joe is like Marmite or black licorice. You either like it or you despise it, and I absolutely love it. This film dives into some of the darkest material imaginable, as a result, creating one of the most offensively hilarious movies ever made. There's a good chance that a lot of you will find this movie horrifying and disturbing, but for the sick few, I hope to bring this hidden gem of a film into your movie radar. Needless to say, this video will be heavily neutered of any of that dark material. The film opens in West Dallas, Texas, where young drug dealer Chris Smith has just been kicked out of his mother's house. He moves in with his idiot father Ansel, sassy stepmother Charla, whom he hates, and his 18-year-old pure-hearted sister Dottie. Chris reveals to his father that he is $6,000 in debt to his connection after his mother, Adele, stole blow off of him. Chris tells Ansel that Adele has a $50,000 life insurance policy whose sole beneficiary is Dottie. After a magnificently comedic debate, both men decide to hire Joe Cooper, a police detective with a lucrative side hustle. Since both men are broke, they decide to offer Dottie up as a retainer until the money comes through. Joe seduces Dottie and the two begin a relationship, during which she reveals that Adele tried to smother her as a baby. Charla is seen having an affair with a guy in a yellow Corvette. Chris gets beat up by his connection's goons, another amusing scene set to the song Strokin' by Clarence Carter, and decides to call off the hit in order to protect his sister from Joe. Unfortunately, Joe already killed Adele and is now waiting on the money. It turns out Rex, Adele's boyfriend, is the beneficiary. Rex tricked Chris by telling him his sister was the beneficiary, told him about Killer Joe, and collected the money unsuspiciously. Thankfully, Ansel is there to wisely offer his gentle fatherly advice to his firstborn son.
Hey, Chris, why don't you do us all a big favor? Just go kill yourself.
Chris tries to persuade Dottie to run away with him, but only agrees if she can see Joe first. Joe pulls over a guy in a yellow Corvette, revealing him to be Rex, while Chris buys a gun. When Ansel and Charlotte return home, Joe gets her to admit that she knew the policy was actually $100,000. Accidental death doubles the pay. He shows a pack of dirty photos to Ansel proving Charlotte's affair and the $100,000 check written to Rex, implying his death. What happens next is what gives the movie its NC-17 rating. Joe forces Charlotte to suck the breading off of his chicken drumstick, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is not a euphemism. That actually happens in this film, and the scene is hilarious. After Joe mentally climaxes, he turns his attention back to business. Joe knows that Chris is coming to take Dottie away and threatens to kill everyone if Chris leaves. During dinner, Chris pulls a gun on Joe. Charla stabs Chris, Joe beats Chris with a can of pumpkin filling while Ansel holds him from escaping, and Dottie recovers the gun. She starts shooting wildly, killing Chris and seriously wounding Ansel. She reveals that she is pregnant, pointing the gun at Joe. The film ends with Dottie's finger moving to the trigger and Clarence Carter's Strokin' starts to play. This may surprise you, but this movie was a box office flop. It was made on a budget of less than $10 million and didn't even make half that money back. A real shame. But if this movie can be made, shown, applauded, then any movie can be made today. I know that there are a lot of people out there who say that they have a dark sense of humor. Just because they make a joke about a race of people or a religion or an ethnicity, that means that they can handle dark comedy. Let this movie be your test. Tracy Letts, the author of this stage play, yeah, there were actual actors performing this live in front of people, says, "Hold my bush and watch me do this." I do not know what this dude was on when he wrote Killer Joe, but God bless his soul. What an absolute unit. Killer Joe is exactly what dark comedy should be. Unfiltered, disgusting, shocking, nasty stuff. It is beautiful. Just like fried chicken, Killer Joe is straightforward and delicious. Killer Joe was directed by William Friedkin, whose resume includes The French Connection and The Exorcist. Strangely, despite his crazy fame, he has gone quiet in recent years. In 2006, he directed Bug, also written by Tracy Letts, but otherwise has not done much. That being said, he errorlessly directs this movie, especially the final scene. The lighting, staging, and mayhem shot like you would see it live. Every performance is perfect. Juno Temple rocks the Texas accent in every scene, dressed in white and light blue like the Virgin Mary, beautifully playing the innocent Dottie. Emil Hirsch wonderfully portrays the flawed character Chris, who makes the most selfishly stupid decisions, wanting to kill his mother to save his bacon, hastily offering his own sister as collateral, and trying to rip off Joe. Despite his flaws, he has one redeeming quality: his deep love for his sister, whom he would fight tooth and nail to protect. Gina Gershon is spectacular. Known for playing risque roles like in Bound and Showgirls, she makes the character of Charla her own. Using a Texas accent and playing her cards close to her chest, she gives an outstanding performance as a trailer park trash who is more crafty than she appears. Gershon was offered the role almost 20 years before the film's release, but refused because she could not imagine performing the chicken leg scene 8 times a week. Thomas Hayden Church plays the straight man of Ansel to a T. He has some of the funniest lines and moments of the entire film and plays the character effortlessly. He is the reason the chicken drumstick scene is so gut-bustingly funny. He represents the audience. He definitely is the subtle unsung hero of this movie. Matthew McConaughey was a rom-com guy and had been typecast as one for so long. During the early 2000s, he broke out of his typecast with movies like Mud, Magic Mike, Wolf of Wall Street, and Dallas Buyers Club. But Killer Joe is my favorite performance of his, and I believe Matthew McConaughey's best. Initially charming and elegant, one gets to see the dangerous man behind the aviator glasses all clad in black. One may call Joe Cooper chaotic or unjust, but I disagree. He is the most morally sturdy and fair character in this film of lowlifes. Chris flip-flops on whether to have his mother killed, offering the person he loves most as collateral, chickening out, pun completely intended, and backing out of a gentleman's deal. Ansel is easily swayed by Chris to have a hit ordered on his ex-wife in a very matter-of-factly debate to get a small amount of cash. He is insulted constantly, he has no problem having another man punish his wife, quickly turns against his own son to save his own skin, and is fine having his daughter taken away from him. Charla will sleep with anyone and lie to ensure her own financial security despite being married, and when that plan falls through, is willing to have her stepson killed to save herself. Joe Cooper's a man of his word. He does his work effectively and covers his tracks expertly. He expects to be paid for his work, just like anyone would, and refuses to be ripped off. He is a gentleman, speaking to everyone calmly and respectfully, and does not take insults lightly. We as an audience understand exactly what Joe's boundaries are and who he is as a man of structure and order, a southern gentleman, a clever detective, and a killer who will get what is owed to him. His character is steadfast. Dottie and Joe may appear like polar opposites throughout the movie. The way they dress, one in black and the other in white. The way they speak and act, one assertive and self-assured while the other childlike and meek. Their differences are seen even through who they surround themselves with. Despite not much revealed about Joe, one can assume he is a respected detective in the Dallas Police Department, an organization built on structure. Dottie's family has no structure. Chris hates Charla, Charla doesn't love Ansel, Ansel loves Charla, Ansel has a rocky relationship with Chris loves Dottie, Dottie and Charla seem to have a good relationship. There is no structure in this family. Dottie deserves to have good people in her life, and Joe Cooper is hands down the best person for her. How very ironic. If you got a hankering for some chicken and need a good date night movie, you won't go wrong with this totally twisted, deep-fried Texas redneck trailer park murder story. I know I didn't. Thank you for watching.